king, I am not a god, I am Unctane!
What's good, Tano? It's time for Baruuk build that scales to level 9199 steel path enemies in Warframe. Why we're updating the build? Because our monk received an Exalted rework after the update Decoraton Core. But first thing first, let me show you the performance of the monk. And that's the power of the monk. Don't forget to punch the like and kick the subscription button. Much appreciated, Tano, for your amazing support. As always, before I build any weapon or any Warframe, I rely on my method, DVS. D damage, element, faction. What you're fighting and how you mod around that. V stands for how you proc 10 stacks of vital to make enemies vulnerable by 325% more damage to their HP. S stands for stripping enemies armor to lower their damage reduction to deal higher damage. And of course, if you don't like my methods, you can check this sheet right here. It can help you maneuver around my methods to find your own style. Now, the next thing you want to learn is the shield gating. In Warframe, when you receive a fatal blow, you don't die, you lose your shield, and you reach the gate phase where your screen will glitch and you will be invulnerable for a certain duration, equal to how much shields you have. 1150 shields equal to the cap 2.5 seconds, except Hildring can go for 3.5 seconds. Simple as that. So the idea of shield gating is returning your shields every time you reach the gate so enemies doesn't hit you in your HP. How you return your shields? Using abilities or mods. Simple as that. And so to improve our community and the comment section so everyone benefits, I created the Warframe community guideline for comments. So please make sure that to follow it so we don't need bots and trolls and toxic people in our community. And now let's talk about his kit and then the build. And now let's talk about abilities on Baruuk Prime for Thanos that want to learn about his kit. Passive. Each projectile dodged, each enemy lulled or disarmed erodes Baruuk's restrain and fuel the storm within. As Baruuk restrain is diminished, he become up to 50% more resistant to damage. Now, we all know damage reduction is not that great, but it's good for low to mid game. So what is this passive exactly? Now, Baruuk has a restrain. Think about it as a charge. That charge, when you use first, second, third ability, it gets low. And that will allow you to use the fourth ability. And the fourth ability doesn't consume energy, it consumes that low restrain charge that's visible on the right side, on the bottom right of the screen, and we're gonna check that when we reach Simulacrum. Elude. Dodge all incoming projectiles, but only when not attacking. Use again to deactivate this ability. So as long as you are not moving at all, which you will not be, that's why we remove this ability and change it with a helmet ability, because technically you don't want to sit down and not do anything, but some Thanos likes it, I don't. So, Elusive Retribution is the augment. Every attack Baruuk eludes increase his melee attack speed and melee critical damage by 5%, up to 6 stacks. Stacks last 6 seconds. So the idea is to elude, to collect the stacks, and then you can use Serene Storm, which is a melee weapon in a way. So, Lul is his second ability. A calming wave slows enemy until they fall into slumber. Enemies woken by damage will be confused and disoriented. Short-term amnesia means all waking enemies forget anything that happened before the Lul. Means if they are aggroed by you after the Lul, they don't remember they was aggroed by you, so they will chase the next enemy or whatever. Simple as that. It got an augment called the Endless Lullaby. Performing a finisher or killing a sleeping enemy will retrigger Lul for 100% of the remaining duration. Passive plus 50% Lul duration is really nice if you want to go into a CC style. Of course, it's nice when it comes, for example, to Cascade and so on, but it's very bad when it comes to, for example, survival missions or defense missions with waves. So treat this augment carefully, of course. Now, Desolate Hands. Summon a bevy of orbiting daggers to seek out enemies' guns, destroying them with a small explosion. So it procs blast. Combine with Elude to double the range. Simple as that. Now, this ability doesn't have any augments yet, but it's very, very powerful. Now, Serene Storm, and this is what we're interested in for today's video, with his Restrain eroded, meaning the charge is down with the first 3 abilities. Baruuk commands the Desert Wind to deliver powerful radial strike with his fists and feet. So he goes like, bah, 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 and throws those waves. Each moment commanding the storm restored his restraint. So think about it like the 4th ability charges the restraint, and the 3 other abilities lower the restraint. And the Serene is used only when your restraint is low. Simple as that. Okay. Now, it got an amazing augment called Reactive Storm. Desert Wind is granted 250% statue chance and changes its damage type to match enemy weakness. Lovely. You will love it. Now, let's get to the build. Now, the first thing you think about when you're building Baruuk, for example, is just going full strength. And I don't blame you, and it's really powerful when it comes to low and mid game. For example, growing power on statue effect with squad receives increased personal ability strength by 25%, and then you want to throw, for example, intensify, but then you remember there is the precision intensify, so that's what you want to go for instead, because you are focusing on the 4th ability. And then probably you want to go for Ogre Secret, Strength Fortitude, Blind Rage right here, and then you're pretty much ready, and you'll be like around 278, so you increase the power of Serene damage, and so on and so on and so on, and probably you'll be running Roar or Eclipse or whatever on the first ability. Now, this is nice and cool, and of course you will balance a bit with the duration, running, for example, continuity in here, and the energy with flow, and so. But efficiency at 45% is no good at level cap. And also, this build like so, it's not going to help you survive the high level enemies. Why? Now, damage reduction is really powerful in Warframe, but it doesn't scale to level cap. Why? Because your HP and shields doesn't scale. Now, true, you have a damage reduction, let's say you can reach 98% with throw adaptation, you throw this, you throw that, with his abilities, blah, 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 blah. Let's say you reach 98%, enemies at level cap will hit you with millions of damage. Ask Zaku's second ability, it will tell you the story. So, the building like so, with full strength and balancing a bit duration is nice, but low to mid game. Running a helmet ability, you can run anything you want. You can go for silence. You can go for Wrathful Advance for red crits. You can go for Roar. You can go for Eclipse. You can go for Resonator to like distract enemies around. You can go for Quiver. You can go for Evade, but I don't like it because you need to do headshots and blah blah blah, and this guy is not for it at all. You can go many ways, so choose your favorite helmet ability and replace it with Elude, maybe Nourish, maybe, for example, Terrify from Necros. And the list goes Gloom, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So use your favorite because I will be sharing with you my favorite and the ones that goes in comfort. It doesn't mean it's written on a stone, but you can try it or you can replace it with a different one. But the point here, I deliver builds that works at level cap and they are tested not only based on theories at low level enemies or based on skill and reaction times that affects only me. So for example, if I have a high skill or high reaction time and you don't, the build will not work for you. So I try to minimize that and eliminate it away to deliver builds that works for everybody, and that's not easy. And now about the Archon shards. Let's make this clear. The Archon shards, they change depends on your style, depends on the abilities you use, depends on the helmet ability you use, depends on the weapons you use, and depends on the build. There is no perfect Archon shard setup. It doesn't exist because every player has his own style. So for example, if you're running, let's say a toxin in your melee weapon, which is the Exalted weapon, which is considered as an ability, you don't want to use Primate Continuity, you will use the Archon Continuity. So the toxin will proc corrosive for you, and you'll be running 2 Emerald Archon shards also to armor strip enemies, but also you'll be running the toxin shards to increase the damage of toxin. Okay, so for example, if you're running, let's say, for example, Archon Stretch, because you want to run electricity on your abilities, because you're running with influence, Archon Stretch will do the amazing job for you, and so on. Now, the Vitality, no, we're not gonna go around that. The Archon Intensify, I don't really prefer it because it goes instead of Precision Intensify. I will just go for Precision Intensify and hope that clears it. So, back to my Archon shards. I'll be running 2 Violet Archon shards and Tau Forged one, like so. You wanna run everything Tau Forged, the 3, you want them to be Tau Forged. Why? Because they increase your melee critical damage, and when energy is over 500, kaboom, okay? The damage boost is doubled, so it increases your critical damage of your Desert Wind Prime. Simple as that. The other 2 Archon shards, Emerald Archon shards, these are optional, and you use them only when you plan on armor stripping enemies with weapons that proc corrosive. It could be your Desert Wind, it could be your Shadow Prime, it could be a Chrome Preset, it could be your Epitaph, it could be whatever, but not your Sentinel. Most important is that if you plan on using a weapon to armor strip enemies with corrosive, you run 2 Emerald Archon shards. Why 2 Emerald Archon shards, not 1 Tau Forged? It's not because 1 Tau Forged is bad, but I want to see enemies that's armor stripped, because when their health become red, that's my indicator that the enemy is 100% armor stripped. 1 Tau Forged will reach 98% armor strip, and their HP will not turn into red, and yet the 2%, it means a lot to me when it comes to increase of damage. Honestly, because I don't use any type of damage boosting abilities, I will leave that to you. Simple as that. Now, there is a lot of ways, so follow the one that you like the most, and depends what style you want to go for. So, starting with the Desert Wind Prime, because this is the build we're gonna go for, and of course I will give you different options here and there. Serene Storm of course is there. Dreamer's Wrath enables Tanukai. Tanukai is a sword that will pop in your screen. When you perform a heavy attack, it will be free of combo multiplier, and also this Dreamer's Wrath will increase the opportunity chance by 50%, means the sword will pop more often, and critical damage by 32% for Tanukai attacks. Of course, if you don't like Dreamer's Wrath, you can use let's say, this one for example, or the other one with 4, let's say, yeah, this is it. Enable Tanukai, increase opportunity window by 4, and melee range by 3 meters for Tanukai attacks. Or you can run the... Stop. So if you don't like the Dreamer's Wrath, you can run the Discipline Merit. Enables Tanukai, opportunity accurate every 4 melee hits instead of random. So one of them is the one you wanna run and you'll be good to go. Now, Organ Shatter for critical damage, Condition Overload for melee damage, and this where comes your priming. So you prime those enemies, and trust me, Condition Overload will play an amazing role in here. But if you don't like priming and all that kind of stuff, run Premature Footed and you'll be good as well. And even I would say, if you're okay with the Fury that to be out and your, let's say, attack speed, I highly recommend running Primate Pressure Point with Condition Overload together to increase the base damage, and you will see a significant increase of your damage, as you can see here, from 16,000 to 43,000, Slam from 4 to 11,000, the total from 1,400 to 3,900. Okay, but Fury, let's say from low to mid, Primate Pressure Point is for the end game, and you will notice a huge DPS increase. Voltaic Strike for electricity and statue chance. Primate Smite Grineer is multiplicative damage against the faction you're fighting. Now, I know a lot of Thanos doesn't like to keep switching that over and over and over and over again, so I would recommend for you a couple of things you change. First, Gladiator Might, one option if you don't want to change the stuff. Secondly, I would recommend Primate Fury, and you'll be good to go. Otherwise, if you're running, for example, a different style element in here, for example, you want to run Corrosive or whatever, you replace the second element you want to use, as we have Voltaic Strike in here. So if I put Toxin, of course, it will be Primate Fever Strike if I want to, so it's going to be Corrosive. And then if I want it to be Viral, I'll just use Cold instead of Vicious Frost, and that's Viral right about there. And of course, if I want to add, for example, Viral and Electricity together, I will just do like so. Boom. Okay, so this magnetic, the reason for that is because the organization of the mods, and that's matter. And now, there it goes. This Voltaic Strike is the end. So Virulence combining with Vicious creating the Viral, and then Voltaic Strike comes in the end. Simple as that. So let's return this one right here, and then removing this one instead here, and then boom, and then putting the Orichalcum back, and this is our build. Blood Rush, critical chance increases with combo multiplier, and this will help us to reach exactly red crits. And then we got Weeping Wound for statue chance per combo multiplier. We need the statue chance for the electricity to be broken as much as you can. As you can see, it's just 9%, and we need more of that. And of course, the Weeping Wound is a percentage of what you have. It's not a flat, so we have 24%. That's why we're running Voltaic Strike instead of the flat electricity. Melee Influence on melee electricity statue, 20% chance for elemental melee statue effect to apply to enemies within 20 meters for 18 seconds, cannot refresh while active. So technically what this does is the element you have in that enemy caused by your Desert Twin will be transferred to all enemies in that area. So since it's a damage that we're relying on to kill enemies, Galvanized Elementalis is an amazing option to replace, for example, the Orkin as well in here, or to replace the Primate Pressure Point in here, since the elemental damage from this mod is multiplicative on slash, heat, electricity, toxin, blast, and gas, and electricity is the one that you want to rely on. I find it amazing, but the build the way it is sufficient. Simple as that. Now, of course, there is a different option I may recommend. Now, I wouldn't recommend Duplicate because we're reaching original red crits. Exposure, really amazing. I love it on this style, and all you have to do is just like give it Viral, or give it, for example, something else for like Blast, and you run this one and Viral from your Panzer Profile or from your melee or from your priming weapons, and you'll be good to go. Vortex, not really, because I'm running my Nautilus with Cordon doing me all the stuff. Affliction is really good since he's going to rock the element that enemy is weak to, and so we will give them full stacks thanks to melee afflictions, and also the electricity, and it's gonna be good. But for now, melee influence to clear the whole room, to maintain our energy and so on. And that's the Desert Wind Prime build that we will be using. Now, when it comes to Baruuk, the first build I'll share with you is Nourish. This is tested, this is gone to level cap, there is no issue in there. Brief Respite. When you cast an ability, the energy you use while you're casting the ability will be converted to shields, and that's how you shield Gate. Now, in the beginning of the game, you will not feel the need of Brief Respite, so let's assume you're going to low level content from, let's say, until level 500, which the Thanos do on daily basis. So you can use Steel Charge, for example. You can use Combat Discipline and Arcane Avenger. It doesn't really matter in there. You can use, for example, the Growing Power. Use anything that you really like. Corrosive Projection if you're playing in different stuff. Use Mecha Empowered if you're going to be using one of your Kavats for the Mecha set. And you'll be good. Not Kavat, sorry, Kubros. Now, primed sure-footed to resist knockdowns. Now, of course, a lot of Thanos doesn't like it because they don't have it. So I highly recommend DE, please put this mod. This is video number 30. Please put this mod on Baruuk, so Thanos doesn't have to wait for 400 login days. But until DE does that and listens to Papa Hank, what you want to replace instead of primed sure-footed, there is many options. My favorite is Hand Spring. if you're going for high level content. If you're not going for high level content, it doesn't matter what you're using here. I'm talking about knockdowns at high level, so they're gonna kill you. Handspring or premature footed. Otherwise, my friend, you can use power drift for ability strength, or you can use scanning drift for ability range. Totally up to you which one you want to use. For me, because this is a scaling build for level cap, I'll be using premature footed because I have it. Stretch for range, equilibrium, you already know what it is, gives health and energy to health and health to energy, whatever. Private flow for energy max, transfortitude for strength and minus ability duration, and then we got the private redirection for shield capacity, so we can run the 1150 plus, so we get the 2.5 seconds vulnerability. Now we got private continuity on ability duration. Abilities that inflict toxin statue effect will also apply corrosive, and since we are not going on the path of toxin our desert wind, we want to replace with private continuity back. Precision intensify, 90% ability strength for your fourth ability, which is the Serene Storm right about here. As you can see, stat chance is 612%, and that's what we're looking for. Precision intensify, already talked about it, just repeating myself here. Reactive Storm is a key in this build. Serene Storm augment, Desert Wind grant 250% stat chance, we already talked about that. Arcane Energize for energy. Now you would say, why are you running energy, and 100% efficiency? Because after the update 1999, I noticed maybe a bug in the code, maybe DE did it on purpose, at level cap, or after, let's say, level 1000 enemies, I noticed a huge reduce of energy drops, health drops, and ammo drops. If you play enough level cap, before and after 1999, you may notice that as well. So now arcane ages, and I don't know why, honestly, in this game, why the Warframes doesn't regenerate energy by themselves. I don't know. DE, you can put solar like lights behind them, so based on the solar or the lights we can regenerate energy, because it's weird that a Warframe doesn't regenerate energy by himself automatically. Now arcane ages on shield damage, 3% chance for 30% shield recharge for 12 seconds. This will play a nice role when it comes to running Nourish, because you'll be there all the time receiving all kind of bullets, and on the next build we take it off of course. Now when it comes to the companion, we'll be running Nautilus Prime, Cordon to pull enemies, Duplex for the clones, Assault to attack, Vacuum for the loot, and Manifold for more Cordon, Shield, Armor, Health, Reinforced Bond for fire rate, it's relevant, you don't need it, Tenacious Bond for critical damage if your sentient weapons has 50% plus critical chance. I'm running the best sentient weapons, which is Verglass Prime, and so you need a Riven for this guy. Otherwise, you can run him without a Riven, but you're sacrificing the 120% critical damage. If you don't want to do that, run Primed Laser Rifle, Volclock, or Burst Laser Prime, and you'll be good to go. Now, let's try this first build with our Nourish. Summoning level 230 heavy corrupted gunners. We want to summon, of course, 20 of them. Like so. Boom, boom. And then what you want to do, casting Nourish, casting the second ability, casting the third ability. As you can see right there, we consumed our Restrain. So you see, the lower that Restrain is, the more we can stay on our fourth ability. Because the moment I use the fourth ability, the Restrain will be charging. If it's full, I can't use my fourth ability anymore. So technically, the three first ability on Baruuk will lower it, so the fourth ability will charge it back. But you can't use it unless... Okay, how will I explain this in a perfect way? Okay, you see that charge? If it's low, you can use your fourth ability. If it's maxed, you can't use your fourth ability. Okay, that's pretty much the best explanation you can get. Alright, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. And enemy is pretty much dead. And I didn't even get my combo at all. Look at that. I mean, this guy is insanely powerful. Look, one-shotted, baby. And this is a very, 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 very powerful build. I didn't even prime them. I didn't even armor strip them. I didn't do any of that yet. Okay, so when it comes to, for example, armor stripping them, I just use compressor for now. And I just like, let it go, that armor strip because the bubbles. And then, boom. Look at that. I mean, I don't know, honestly, how I'll be collecting my combo. And if you notice there, my combo is not depleting, thanks to my Shadow. And this is the build I'm using on Shadow, Viral Magnetic. And of course, I will switch it to Corrosive if I want to rely on Shadow to proc Corrosive for me. Primary Dexterity, 7.5 seconds combo duration, which is more than enough to move from area to area. Otherwise, if you're not playing Cascade, run Naramon instead. Compressor, this is the build for priming I use on Compressor, Encumber, and Viral and Magnetic and Corrosive all together. And Magnetic is really good for the Overguard, to increase the shield, to increase your damage against shields, and Overguard against the damage against those enemies. Simple as that. Now, that's the Nourish. Honestly, Nourish build is really powerful, really nice. I like it. It's amazing, but I didn't want to go that path because it requires constant shield gate and relying on arcane ages. Okay, now, the second build I will share with you today is similar build pretty much on everything except the arcane right here, which we're going to be running Arcane Fury, and we will be running the Quiver in here. Now, Quiver, a lot of Thanos hate it because they think it's a camping ability, which you're going to be like casting in the ground, and that's pretty much it. But no, it's not that. Quiver is a very fun helmet ability to use, and if you know anything about my channel, probably I am the only content creator on the whole world used Quiver as much. So, you jump like so, and you aim on your Sentinel, and you hit it, and you're pretty much invisible, so you are technically, right now, invisible Ash. So, you cast the third ability, second ability, and even Quiver, you can recast it when you are invisible. Like so, you can see right there, your Sentient is actually green, right there, and you can recast it even when you are invisible. Look at the timer, boom, recast, active, all the time. And as you can see, we'll be able to take down these guys with ease, like so. Boom, 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 boom. Now, we're going to rely on our Compressor to armor strip them and prime them for us. Go. Boom. Compressor coming in. There you go. And then pop, pop, pop. And they're pretty much gone. There is no coming back from that. The reason I like Quiver, it's because invisibility is really powerful. And when you combine it with shield gating, like I explained for you, you become more powerful. And I really love that ability. And this is the ability I'm using in my niche. Of course, I don't use it in every video, but I use it when I feel the Warframe like would enjoy and like it, and so on. Simple as that. Now, for the Thanos that doesn't know how to get the primed mods or the galvanized mods you get them from the Arbiters of Hexis in any relay after you do the arbitration and you collect the Vitus Essence. Primed mods, you get them from Baruuk, he comes every 2 weeks, and you go to any relay, you crush your primed parts, of course the useless one, to get ducats, and then you trade him that for the primed mods. Now, in the TennoCon, there is a key where you can access the TennoCon relay, where Baruuk brings everything. So if you can afford that, and you have more than 20,000 ducats, I highly recommend you do that, especially if you're a new player, and you can spare a couple of 20 bucks or something like that to go to that relay and get all the prime parts, so you don't have to wait for them, because it can take a year for you to get all the primed stuff. Prime sure-footed, it will need 400 login days, but already gave you the alternatives and what you can replace it for. And if you are new Tenno and you're looking at this build and you say, oh, I cannot afford the primed mods, it's simply flow, you replace it with flow, like so. There you go, flow, flow. Continuity, you replace it with continuity, no, because they have a normal variety, and that's pretty much it. This the rest of the mods are really easy and you must have them. Energized, run it as low rank as you can, and Arcane Fury, run it as low rank as you can until you manage to collect all the stuff. Now it's very easy to get Arcanes since Phosphor become into play and ruin the Eidolon Hunt, but it's really easy. Otherwise you can sell prime parts and you collect those like mods and Arcanes. In the end, I will give our Monk 8 out of 10, amazing Warframe, and I am sure you will love playing him. In the low to mid game, he's pretty much unkillable thanks to the damage reduction, but in the end game, damage reduction will not help you at all, so you need to go for shield gating or invisibility or reaction times and shield recharge style. Helmet ability, use whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you like the most. When it comes to viral and stripping enemies, use anything or any method or any combinations or any synergy that you like the most. When it comes to damage boosting, it's up to you. Use whatever you want. When it comes to Archon shards, of course, use the ones that combine and synergize with your kit. Simple as that. I want to say special thanks to everyone supporting the channel in any way. Big love to you all, and you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for everyone that followed me on Twitch, followed me on TikTok, joined my Discord in the description, and special thanks to Hall of Members, special VIPs, Undisputed Donator, and Hall of Donations, and everyone in my community. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys on the next one.